land of freedom, toils of the brave, and the sweat of their labors, toils of the brave, which have brought results.
It's interesting that our episode is airing on Ghana's 69th Independence Day celebration, and 69 is a very interesting number for interesting reasons. And I'm not referencing Kama Sutra. I'm not sure if you guys know this. Kelvin, one of your favorite fullbacks, French fullback, wore jersey number 69. So a couple of years ago, Bigzante Lizarazu, brave guy, World Cup winner, randomly came out of retirement at Bayern Munich and wore number 69. He said he picked 69 because 1969 was his birth year. I don't trust him. I really don't trust him. He could have picked so many numbers, but he chose 69.
If he talks in birthday about Cali, it doesn't sit well. It doesn't. There are undertones there that do not correlate.
Okay, guys. Okay, this is a football podcast.
This is not a soccer podcast.
It's quite interesting. He's one of the very best left backs I've watched, but maybe that would be another discussion for another day.
I know. Kelvin, Ghana at 69. Where have we come from? Where are we now? Where are we going?
Well, Ghana at 69. This is a country that has been blessed so much. Ladies and gentlemen, football romantics across Africa and beyond. This is the 50-50 football podcast. And we give you 50% analysis, 50% banter, and 100% of football. But today, the vibes will certainly be a bit different because today we celebrate 69 years of independence for the beautiful football nation of Ghana. This is a country whose football story reads like, the biggest blockbusters you've watched. Glory, swagger. For the heartbreaks, they've been so much. And the occasional plot twist that even, the Netflix writers would reject, for being too dramatic. But you get back into it and you ask yourself, can we get back into the 1960s as we rewind the tape? When much of Africa was still finding its political identity, Ghana had already found its footballing authority. That was massive, under the vision of Kwame Nkrumah and the administrative genius Ohene-Jan. These two just made sure football did not become just a sport. It was national diplomacy with boots being put on. And lo and behold, their efforts were not in futility. The Black Stars delivered. In 1963 and 65, Ghana didn't just win the Africa Cup of Nations. They were dominant on other soils. Then came 1978 and 1982. You can understand why those class, the likes of Reverend Osei Kofi, Malik Chape, and all the likes, don't respect the current generation because they made it 4 African Nations Cup titles. To win the AFCON 4 times wasn't easy. As at 1982, 4. That was not just success, it was continental authority. His name was sung across the rest of Africa and even the world. Because when it came to Africa, only nation that was so dominant was Ghana. But before you get into the analytics, before, the tactical YouTube breakdowns, before football, banters came up on X, formerly Twitter and all others, it was just pure Ghanaian excellence. From the thunderbolts of, some very glorious legends, the firepower of Tony Yeboah, the elegance, the brilliance, the magical play of Abedi Pele, to the midfield power of the Bison Michael Essien, to the defensive steel of Sami Osaikofo. Many would love him. From FC Bayern Munich, he just made sure he bet his time. And of course, the man whose name has certainly echoed through the stadiums of Accra to Johannesburg, starting from Accra Academy, moving on to Liberty Professionals, and then making a way for himself in Italy, France, before moving to England and to the Gulf. Samoa Jan, the baby jet. But if glory is one chapter of Ghana football story, heartbreak is the other. And it's so painful to talk about the 1992 Africa Cup of Nations final that Ghana lost on penalties. Not to remind anyone of the pain, but Tony Baffo blasting his kick over the goalpost to give that trophy to Cote d'Ivoire. In 2010, Ghana was just one kick away from the World Cup semi-final, and it was a Samuel Jan's penalty that grazed off the crossbar, Ghana missing out narrowly to Luis Suarez, who had given Ghana lots of pain after handling that ball on the line. But just before that, you can talk about the 2008 AFCON, where Ghana suffered and struggled in the semi-final, all because of the absence of defenders. John Mensah out of the game, forcing Michael Essien to slot into the heart of defense. Cameroon eliminating Ghana, eventually getting to the final, only to be beaten by the eventual winners, Egypt. In 2010, still at another AFCON, it was Gedo who made sure Ghana was punished once again at the AFCON. And the most painful of all was at the 2015 African Nations Cup final. Another penalty shootout. That seems to be the bane of Ghana. Another painful ending. And that was where Ghana suffered further tears. And it was pain that was inflicted once again by the Côte d'Ivoire. It was quite painful. Ghana had 2 penalties better than Côte d'Ivoire. But out of nowhere, Kopabari, the goalkeeper nobody envisioned to save Côte d'Ivoire in that shootout, eventually became a master of the night, taking the trophy away from Ghana painfully. At the final, Andre Ayew shed tears that no one could console him under a very, very well-known manager, Avram Grant. At some point, Ghana didn't just become finalists. We became finalists with emotional baggage. And yet, the Black Stars always do rise again. But here is the uncomfortable question on this 69th Independence Day. Where exactly are we now? Where is Ghana now? Because once upon a time, the rest of Africa feared Ghana. Today, some teams look forward to playing against Ghana, all because they use us as preparatory grounds. But years before, we were dreadful. They wouldn't even want to play us. Is it about administration? Is it about youth development? Is it about selfish interest? Is it nostalgia tricking us into thinking the system still works? There have been several questions that have popped up in recent years. From the era of Kwesi Nyantakyi to the current leadership of Keto Kweku, Ghanaian football has weathered storms, some being political, some being structural, and some purely footballing. Meanwhile, the current generation, led by figures like Andre Ayew, Thomas Partey, Antoine Semenyo, Mohamed Kudus, carry the burden of history, a history that refuses to be quiet. And now another chapter is loading because on the horizon sits the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the biggest World Cup ever, hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. 48 teams, 8 nations, 48 flags being represented by players who are willing to die for their nations. More African slots. It could possibly be 10 if DR Congo managed to qualify after the intercontinental playoffs. There is more opportunity for Africa to rise again. But here is the question Ghana football must answer. Will Ghana be able to arrive there as participants? Will they be able to get there just to play and be part of the numbers? Or they are going to play as contenders? Will Ghana move past its failure that since 2021, they haven't gone past the group stages of any competition they've played? Because history is telling us something very important. When Ghana is able to believe, when Ghana decides to believe, when Ghana actually believes, Africa believes and Africa performs gloriously. From the AFCON dominance of the 1960s to the club dominance of Accra to Folk in the 2000s and even Asante Kotoko in the 80s to the near miracle of 2010, generations of talent that shaped global football and still continue to give the very best talent across the globe. This isn't a fading giant. This is a giant deciding whether to take it up on itself again and wake up once again. So on Ghana's 69th Independence Day, we will celebrate the past, we will interrogate the present, and we will challenge and forecast what the future looks like for Ghana. Because African football is always better when the Black Stars decide to shine, and they do shine brightly. And trust me, if Ghana rediscovers their rhythm before 2020, the entire continent will notice. You cannot question that when Ghana is in the mood, and hopefully they will be able to do it. There's a mantle that currently falls on the GFA president, Ket Edwin Simeon Okaku, led by Otto Addo, who is the head coach of the team, to get into the 2026 World Cup and make sure Ghana once again battles it out like real champions, like warriors, and make sure they get the very best of performances and rewrite history that has been fading in the last couple of years. Hopefully, this will be the turnaround for Ghana to get back at it again. Well, guys,
when you go run for president,
you see,
when you go run for president,
we can start from
State of the Union.
So, guys, let's get into it. Koku, it's been quite disappointing in the last couple of years. But what do you have to say about Ghana's continuous dip and rise? It's been undulating, and it's quite surprising. And when we fall deep into the abyss. We've become perennial underachievers in the last 40 years, or do I say 50 years when it comes to Africa, but in the world, yes, there have been glimpses of hope, but where do we start rediscovering ourselves again? Where have we gone wrong? And where do we reckon our football's future to move from continental dominance and get back into, the world stage to make us once again fearful?
I mean, that's interesting. First of all, stick editorial. Listen, you put everything in a nutshell. You summed everything up, where we were, where we started from, where we are currently, and where we are heading towards. And it looks as though we are heading towards a ditch as a country. What we've done in the last couple of years has basically yielded nothing other than utter disgrace and shame. And it's very, very evident in our recent AFCON performances. And before we jumped on, Nana's Mangana mentioned something that it's quite contrasting how we fared in the AFCON qualifiers, and if you juxtapose that to the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, it was like night and day how we played in the AFCON qualifiers versus how we played in the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. We've been very poor campaigners in these tournaments. It started in 2019 where we just got to the second round. After we lost to Tunisia in a very bizarre manner. It was a very poor Tunisian side. They had looking for inspiration from Wabi Kazri. We lost to them. And then from 2019, went into the next AFCON, and which was even worse than that. We couldn't win a single game in that AFCON against, that was when Comoros knocked us out, right? And
yes.
Then from 2021, we went into the to the following AFCON in 2023. Again, we couldn't get out of the group stage. And in the latest AFCON, we couldn't even qualify to the AFCONs. It's a gradual decline that we've seen. And if you cast your mind back into to when we used to do really well, and let's look at even recent times, 2010, 2015, and even 2017. I think we did well in 2008. We wanted to host them, and unfortunately, Cameroon were too strong for us. They beat us. So 2008, we got to the semi-final. 2010, we got to the final. We lost to Ghetto's goal. You mentioned that in your editorial. In 2012, under Plavi, when we went to Equatorial Guinea, we were in the semi-final once again. Every metric on the table or on the board showed that we should have won that game against Zambia. We missed the penalty, and Wajan unfortunately missed the penalty in that game. And then we played in that semi-final. And then fast forward to the following edition in 2015. 2015, we were in the final. That's when we lost to Cote d'Ivoire. Bizarre fashion. 2017, however, unfortunately, we got to the semi-final. We lost to eventual winners Cameroon. 2019, the failures began. And we had a core group of players who had played in the youth teams. So you can see notable names from 2012. Come on, and I'll use Ajimambedu as an example. Ajimambedu, Wakasu. These players had been part of our youth teams. See where Andrea Ayew came from. Andrea Ayew was captain of our youth team that won the 2009 World Cup, 2009 Under-20 World Cup. So we had a good pipeline. Currently, you pick a black star squad of 26, and only a handful of players have been through the youth teams. We just go and pluck ready-made players who don't even understand what it means to play for the country. Winning and doing well with your national team goes beyond talent. There's that desire, that commitment, that will to die for your nation on the football pitch, because you represent 30 plus million Ghanaians within a 90-minute period on the football pitch. And you bring in players who, through no fault of theirs, they don't even understand what it means to play for the national team, right? And that commitment isn't there. So, of course, you won't see the result. You won't see that on the pitch. So it's a leadership problem, which whenever there's a leadership problem, it would manifest on the pitch. We should be fair. We should be honest with ourselves. We should retool and rebuild our youth teams. We should have coaches who are on contracts with salaries. This whole system of appointing coaches without salaries and paying them stipends or pay them whenever there's a tournament or whenever there's camping is wrong. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that.
You see, there's one thing about them, and I like it that Prosper Ogum, in as much as I have issues with him, he's made sure that even with the under 17, he's secured a contract because he knows his worth and he knows what he wants to do. Because you can only task people and demand results when they have binding contracts.
And I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. We don't have a good pipeline. We don't have a good system. We are not getting the best youth players to play for our under 17s, our under 20s, our under 23s. When was the last time we got to the Olympics? 2004 was the last time we got to the Olympics. And you know the interesting thing? Look at the players who played at the 2004 Olympics. They formed the core of the Black Stars team that dominated from 2008 till about 2014. They were the players. So look at the team then that went to that Olympics. Look at the team that won the under 20, from goalkeeper to the right backs, the left backs, David Daddy, the central defenders, the midfielders, Ajiman Bedu and the likes. They formed a good chunk of the team that did very well till about 2019. And what has happened? Cast your mind back to the last, youth team that we have. Been only Fatawu Shahaku that has made it.
Yeah.
Only Fatawu Shahaku. And I think Lawrence Atizigi as well. Lawrence Atizigi, Fatawu Shahaku, kudos as well played. But the interesting thing is that how many of these youth team players even played in the same era? Because you build that cohesion and understanding from that era, right? Listen, I can go on and on and on about how we failed or we continue to fail as a country, and our football has been in continuous decline. Look at our clubs. Look at our local clubs. When was the last time we had back-to-back campaigners in the CAF group stages? The CAF club competitions. In 2002, Asante Kotoko even in 2000, Hearts of Oak won the Champions League.
Yeah.
2002, Asante Kotoko were in the finals of the Cup Winners' Cup, losing to WAC of Morocco. Right. 2004, we had Asante Kotoko and Hearts playing in the maiden Confederation Cup final. In 2006, both Asante Kotoko and Hearts were again back in the group stages of the Champions League. That was when Kotoko lost 4-0 to Al Ahly. Right, in 2008, Kotoko again with Eric Bequin and Bashir Reford, we played again in the Confederation Cup in the group stage. And I think Eric Bequin was the goalkeeper, the whole of Africa. 2012 went to Africa and they did so well. So again, consistently we had teams in there. We had 4 slots. Now we have only 1 slot for Champions League and 1 Confederation Cup slot. And I mean, nothing paints the picture more than these things. Mangana.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys have said a lot about what needs to be done. But all of these things, when it comes to rebuilding and retooling our football, outside of the leadership change in mindset, which is the most paramount thing, because without the will to do it, essentially nothing will move. But we don't have structures. We don't have a blueprint. We need to draw up like about a 10 to 20 year plan where we are going to invest in the infrastructure from the youth level, because we probably have a lot of talented people who would love to play the sports as a profession. But the way our system is set up, we don't have the structures to unearth these talents, to properly train them, and to be able to give them the avenue to showcase their talent so that they can market themselves to the world. And that is why our football keeps going down, because other countries have invested in theirs. Look at the amount of money Morocco put in the past couple of years, rebuilding stadiums, training facilities, and all of those things. And yet we can't even grow a good set of grass for the Premier League. Like the teams in the Premier League, it seems they just play a campaign, and then at the end of the campaign, they split the cash and everyone just takes their share, and then they go back and then they redo the same thing the next year. No one is investing in training facilities. No one is investing in setting up a good academic system, like a way to be able to bring up new talents, trade them properly, and then you can then trade them. If we set up our footballing structures and systems correctly, football can actually be an export for us, as opposed to just something we do as a hobby.
And I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And even beyond the infrastructure bit, right? Mm-hmm. There's the issue of corruption. The best players are overlooked consistently because they don't have someone up there advocating for them. They don't have someone or a big man who would drive into camp with, a wad load of cash to, grease the palms of team officials to get them onto the plane to the tournament or get them into the final 23 or final 26 for a tournament. And it's so bizarre because now it's a pay-to-play system, sort of. You don't pay, you don't grease the palms of the coaches, you don't play, which is so sad.
And even beyond that, now they say what is called the football ecosystem. If you are not part of, you are not a friend of the administration, you don't get your players to be called in. It's quite surprising.
Look at that.
Those times we form our junior national teams and you see youngsters from Kotoko, then Goldfields, Heart to Folk, Liberty Professionals. You see the top clubs in Ghana having their youngsters being a part of it. Now they can decide to go and pick up, not to downplay the capability or quality of any player, but how do you look at a player who is playing in the Ghana Premier League, like Bernard Sumwasapon? You won't call him to a junior national team because Kotoko are not or don't have themselves in the football ecosystem. They are against certain decisions, certain actions of the football association, and because of that, their players suffer for it. How do you call a national team under 20? And I'm not seeing someone like Pitami Duakwa in there, but I'm seeing a player from, let's say, some Division 3 or some Division 2. Not to downplay the capabilities of these players, but sincerely, if England want to form their under 20, we see the players, they're under 21. You can't tell me England will see Ethan Wanyeri, Max Dorman playing for Arsenal, and then they will go and pick a youngster from Mansfield or...
It will never happen.
It will never happen.
They will never let it happen.
Exactly.
See, let me tell you one thing that they do. Couple of weeks ago, months ago, they were interviewing Jamie Carragher, right? And someone passed a comment that I didn't realize how the person said that was when Donnarumma had arrived in England. The person said they didn't realize how tall Donnarumma is. Do you know the response Jamie Carragher gave? Jamie Carragher's response was, well, I didn't know James Trafford was 4'6" either.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that possibly for a reason, advocating for the English boy to play.
Yes.
Because they know he's the future of English football. He's the next big thing coming. He's the future of their goalkeeping department. And with Donnarumma is also a young guy. He's in his 20s. He can be in the post for the next 10 years and James Trafford will not play.
As long as he's played football, he's still very, very young.
Exactly. So, again, they are very deliberate about it. They want their players who are good enough to play. Ours is not that. Ours is different. The funny thing I heard in the news a couple of months ago again was that they were advocating for more slots for foreign players to play. I was like, what? To play in the Ghana League? I was like, what? We need our young players to play more. You guys are advocating for more slots for foreign players to play. What then happens to the pipeline?
There's no pipeline.
Back in the days in England, you needed to have played 70% of your national team to even play in the Premier League. And that's how come a lot of young African players didn't get a chance to play in England. Toure faced the same thing. Toure would have played for Arsenal long ago, but he also faced the same thing. When Mikel Obi couldn't sign for Man United for that reason and had to go and do a U-turn in Norway, which ended him up in Chelsea. For those reasons. Fabio da Silva and Rafael da Silva faced the same thing, but because they came from Brazil, they found a way to make them play Alex Ferguson again and David Gill. They were very powerful at the time. So again, other national teams other countries are very deliberate about their football, about creating a pipeline for their players to play. We are doing pay-to-play system in Ghana. We are blocking the pipeline by increasing opportunities for foreigners to play. And again, to Kelvin's point, how do you have players like Peter Miduakwa who play for Asante Kotoko? Do you know what it takes to play for Asante Kotoko? He's an under 20 player, but you would drop him and go and bring a Division 2 player somewhere in his stead. Now, no disrespect to that Division 2 player, but it should be a national policy for those players like Peter Miduakwa, Hubert Jewu and the likes to be part of our national team because they were good enough to be spotted by these big teams and they are starting for these big teams. That alone tells you something. It should be a national project. But anyway, Kelvin, we've doubled enough in Ghana, 69 years of football. You've taken us through the journey. I know we have Clinton here to dissect into why our Nigerian brothers of Niger, they didn't qualify. But we have
they'll eat this.
Super Eagles, waiting they happen, waiting they share, we want no. Shayna Winch, I been landing, no matter their plan, no, we go still they fly.
They'll eat this. We have this healthy rivalry going on between the two countries.
Yeah.
6.
How far now? What be the action for Nigeria? You people are not going to the World Cup.
We have come to terms with it. We are not going. Just forget about it.
They
Just
are not
maybe
going there.
go there and support Ghana.
But
World
first of
Cup
all,
without Nigeria is no going.
how do Nigerians find this? They are not going to the World Cup.
Oh, I think first of all they couldn't come to terms that they are actually not going. That's why they are grasping at straws. The DR Congo, they're still living in denial. It's when DR Congo actually plays that game. That's when everyone will know, okay, it's gone. We are not going to the World Cup. There are people who still believe Nigeria will go to the World Cup right now. Journalists in Nigeria, they say Nigeria will still go to the World Cup. So right now, most people have not come to terms. I think it's after that DR Congo game, everyone will know that Nigeria are not going to the World Cup.
Well, Nigeria are not making it, but where do you think the problem arose from? Where do you think it started, and why couldn't the Super Eagles, get a ticket to this World Cup?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. Let me give you an example with Ghana. Before Ghana started the World Cup qualifiers, there's a pressure from the fans. USA, we have to go to the USA. Ghana have to win the games. They have to qualify. There's pressure from the fans. Everyone in Ghana, they're rallying against the Black Stars, especially when there are games in Ghana. The support was massive. Different in Nigeria, extremely different. First of all, the NFF, they didn't take the World Cup qualification very seriously, just like the last one. This one too, they didn't take it seriously. That's why they gave the task to Finidi George, someone who is inexperienced, who has not handled pressure like this. Finidi George was given the opportunity to qualify, or the task to qualify Nigeria. And you can see the first 2 games, that is where the problem started. The first one against South Africa was a draw. They had 15 shots in that game, ended in a draw. Next one against Benin, shocking defeat. Benin were tipped to win that game. They had Nigeria were tipped to win that game. Benin had 6 odds to beat Nigeria, to tell you that no one expected that to happen. So from the first 2 games, Nigeria collected only 1 point. So that's when they say, okay, if Finidi George continues, it's going to be a huge problem. Then they gave the job to Augustine Iguavon, the technical director. We went to draw against Zimbabwe. I think Zimbabwe in Oyo, that game Nigeria should have won. If Nigeria had won that game, after they deducted that point from South Africa, Nigeria would have qualified to the World Cup. So it started from the NFF not taking it seriously by appointing Finidi George, and Nigeria not being able to use home advantage. The game against South Africa and Zimbabwe, they should have won those 2 games. And eventually, they would have qualified long ago, even before the final 2 games of the tournament. So it's all started in that sequence.
Well, this is quite interesting. Anna, were you surprised Nigeria wasn't able to make it?
They had a very terrible campaign. They didn't have consistency in their performance. Well, it was shocking in the sense that this is a World Cup where we had more places in terms of the African nations that could qualify. So you would think that at least that should make it easier for Nigeria to qualify, since in previous iterations we've had a lot of some of our best teams kind of like be in the same group and then having to prevent each other from going to the World Cup. So you would think that the expanded form would make it easier for some of our best teams or some of our more glamorous teams on the continent to qualify. But they had a shocking campaign. And once you have that kind of campaign and you couldn't get back to winning the games that were important, I don't think it would have helped for them to qualify. Sometimes you need these kind of setbacks to kind of gain introspection and be able to reassess your team, reset that team, and then you can go on in the next World Cup and be better prepared for it. It was appalling to see how they played some of the games that they lost against South Africa and all of those things. It was like, Nigeria, you can do better. But they never really showed up.
Well, Kwaku, I think Nigeria has struggled. They get to the African Nations Cup and they're able to perform, but it gets to, a bigger stage like this. Where do you see their worries? Is it managerial? Is it our player ego? Is it about quality? I don't think it's about player quality, because Nigeria has lots in abundance.
Exactly. And that's why it's completely unacceptable that they didn't qualify. Completely unacceptable. You don't have a generational striker like Osimhen, and you don't get to showcase him to the world at the World Cup. It's completely unacceptable. And you see, it comes from the top. Amaju Pinnick and the rest of the NFF have completely failed Nigeria as a country, and including the sports ministry as well. The sports ministry as well, we need to also take another look at them, because they completely failed. See, I know Clinton, did a good job speaking about the qualification, the road to the World Cup, and the journey and how they failed at it. However, when they got to the playoffs, they still had the opportunity to qualify. They one last shot at it, and I felt at that point they had to approach it with all seriousness. Only for them to get there, and there were hotel issues. We saw the Snapchat from Alex Iwobi, only for us to hear that the players were on strike. Second couldn't convince them to play because they were owed bonuses from past campaigns, and they knew, typical Africa, if you don't get them to pay now, that's it. At the end of the campaign, they won't pay. You understand? So for me, I think they need to look at themselves, and it's a leadership problem. I won't blame the players much. At the end of the day, the players can only do what they have to do. If logistics are not in place, if organization and preparation isn't at its maximum best, what do you expect the players to do on the day? Football goes beyond what we see on the pitch, especially national team football. It goes way beyond what we see on the pitch. Team dynamics, logistics, organization, management, it's all very important. And certain energy transmits from the top down to the players. So if the players themselves realize that the leadership isn't serious, see, it might not be deliberate, but they would also lose some seriousness to whatever campaign that they are in. Right. So it's a leadership problem. The NFF, together with the sports ministry, have completely failed Nigeria. And they failed someone like Osimhen because he plays with his heart. And I single him out because Nigeria simply became Osimhen FC. And Clinton, correct me if I'm wrong, it became Osimhen FC. It's like without Osimhen, the team is dead. And that was the situation for Nigeria, right? That became the situation for Nigeria.
Now, Clinton, many think that, yes, technically or tactically, it was due to, the ineptitude of, Eric Shell. Would you buy by it? Because some of us think that he really made, nonsense of that talk at the African Nations Cup, or you beg to differ on that score?
Yeah. Eric Chow is a very good coach. I think if he had started in the World Cup qualification campaign with Nigeria, definitely Nigeria would have qualified. There's a presence he brings whenever he's there. The players they listen to him very well. He doesn't speak English that much, but they listen to him very well. He's his other coaches to tell the players, this is what I want, this is what you need to do, and all that. They respect him a lot. That is basically why the main reason Nigeria are playing good football under Eric Chell. They respect him a lot. I wouldn't say that the same for Finidi George, because at the points the players were having issues with him. They felt like he didn't know what he was doing. There were leaks from the dressing room that some players are not playing according to what he wants them to play. But I feel Eric Chell changed a lot since he took the position as the Nigerian head coach. It really worked wonders. Whoever appointed him actually did a very good job. That is when Nigeria started believing in the team. They knew at the point that Nigeria realized that, okay, we've messed up. We should have appointed this guy earlier, because if he had started this World Cup qualifying campaign, we would have actually gone to the World Cup. I think the first game he played for Nigeria in the World Cup qualifying campaign was against Rwanda. That away win, it was so good. Everyone was like, wow, this guy is actually okay. Let's see what happens in the next game. Then the next game, Nigeria had several chances to score, several chances to score, but they couldn't take the chance. And we can see 90th minute was when Zimbabwe got that equalizer. 90th minute. That's almost the last kick of the game. Everyone said, okay, we've seen this happen before. It's happening again. Are you sure Eric Chell he sold us dreams against Rwanda? What is going on? Then we saw the Unity Cup. He played against Ghana, Jamaica, then the friendly game against Russia, then the AFCON qualifications and all that. Everyone saw that Eric Chell was building something. So overall, everyone knows Eric Chell is good. Nigeria, if you meet any Nigerian and ask them what's your opinion about Eric Chell, they say he's a very good coach. He's made Nigeria play very well. So 100%, I feel Nigeria would have qualified for the World Cup if Eric Chell was appointed earlier. So 100%, that is what I think.
Clinton, I have a question for you. What led to the George Finidi appointment? Where did that come from?
There's a section of Nigerian journalists that were clamoring for a local coach, because of Genetro and paying him in naira and dollars and all those things. They wanted a local coach to take Nigeria to the World Cup. There's one fetish they have with this local team. There's a section of the Nigerian journalists that even if the local coach is not performing well, they would never criticize. So that's local coach, and Finidi George is obviously a Nigerian legend. He got the support. Someone just nominated him. They just appointed him just like that. So we thought he was going to be maybe interim coach, maybe the main coach would come and he will assist the main coach. But we were surprised to see that he was the one leading Nigeria into the World Cup qualifiers. So we're like, okay, let's see what he can do. After the first game, we said, nah, he has to go. But the NFF said, okay, let's give him another game. That was after that second game, they saw that, nah, this guy, if we continue with this guy, we might not win any World Cup qualifier. So it was it was influenced by a section of sports journalists in Nigeria who wants that local coach, this thing. So those were the people that made that thing happen because there's no way you look at all the qualified coaches in the world and you pick Finidi George. It was a section of journalists that actually influenced that decision.
Do you think his stint as assistant coach to Jose Pesero perhaps also forced the hand of the NFF? Because for me, Stephen Keshi came, he won AFCON in 2013, took the national team to the World Cup. But Keshi had a track record, play for Nigeria in 2013 at the AFCON, were players that he brought to the national team, including the was it Sunday but that was playing in the local league?
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah, but it's interesting because even Finidi also managed the Yimba, but okay, he didn't manage the Yimba. At the time the Yimba was conquering Africa, so that's another piece to it.
Yeah, he was just assistant coach. That qualification was in his CV. That is what the NFF used. That he has experience being assistant coach. So if he just popped up from nowhere with his qualification and that is his first job, they'll be like, this week's of corruption. But they use that. Like he learns from the coach that just left. So
you're trying to pull off a Kwesi Appiah. Kwesi Appiah was assistant for a long time. Tell me, won't you tell them?
The mantle.
Yeah, Kwesi was assistant to several coaches.
It's not as if Finidi George is a bad coach. The thing is that he doesn't know how to command authority. That is after the Osimhen video that he made live on Instagram. That is when it became very clear that the players don't respect him that much. He didn't know how to command authority. He's that kind of coach that is like always second fiddle. Like let's wait for your guy to come. You can't tell us what to do. That's the kind of coach he is. That's why you can see right now he's struggling outside Nigerian football space. His African campaign with his current club, Rivers United, that's actually my football club from my local hometown. They are struggling. They are playing rubbish. They played all the CAF competition without winning a single game.
Yeah.
Without winning one single game. So it's not as if he's a bad coach, but given that like motivates players and being a figure of authority, he doesn't have. I don't think he has that qualities. That is the problem. That was the problem he had with the Nigerian Super Eagles team.
Sounds as though we are trying to empathize with you, but your tears is my job.
But quick, some also feel with the kind of size they face, they should have never.
Yes, there's something in Ghana that is not. It's not the same in Nigeria. Nigerian players, if they sometimes you see in Ghana, if there's an issue, maybe Nigeria lost a game, Nigerians look for someone to blame. So as far as they're not blaming a particular player, they don't care. If you made a mistake and they score Nigeria from that, they'll say, okay, let him take the heat for everybody. This player is the one that caused the problem. Let him take the heat. At the point that sometimes some journalists will call players and say, this thing no play well, waiting happen. Say, your people see defense, we could do all the jobs, waiting defense they do. Things like that. It's not as if they are playing like as a team. When a coach comes into a team, the first thing is to make everyone like, let's have each other's back. That's what Richel is doing differently. That's why Nigeria are playing very well. That is what is missing. That was what was missing after Jose Pesero left. Under Guavon, under Finidi George, it wasn't there. It's just as if the players respect foreign coaches more than the local coaches. The only local coaches that they respect is the ones that are extremely, extremely disciplined, like Samson Siasia, Stephen Keshi. After the game, Ghana Black Stars won in Abuja. The pedigree of Augustine Guavon, it came down, especially after he came to Kumasi. I was at a press conference. He was so confident that Nigeria would beat Ghana in Abuja. That is one of the reasons Ghana played very well in Abuja. He was so confident. The way he spoke He didn't even talk about tactics. He was just saying, "Oh, we'll beat them. We'll beat them. They will come to Abuja. They will come to Abuja." So after Nigeria lost that game, the respect they had for Eguavon went down. So the same thing with Finidi George. The same thing with any other local coach. I don't think personally, if you ask me, is there any local coach that can handle Nigeria right now? I'll tell you no, because I don't feel that the players will have that same respect they have for foreign coaches. So within this one side, within you want tells. If you good, why are they coach outside Nigeria? If you good, why they coach local club? Do you understand? So that's it.
Well,
But you
Clinton,
see,
yes, almost coming to close on this. I know Koku may have some other questions, but the Nigeria Football Federation has dismissed, the reports that the World Cup hopes are over, and I think the NFF director of communications, Ademola Nigeria, has been speaking, about this, that they haven't received any formal communication from FIFA. But we know that yes, 6 nations that will be playing for the final slot: Bolivia, Congo DR, Iraq, Jamaica, New Caledonia, and Suriname have been confirmed as, the qualifiers, hoping that things will be turned around. But since the 18th of November, nothing has been said. Do you think this is a wild goose chase, or the NFF believe that something positive could happen and, it should happen? Do you still think, or do you think Nigeria has that capability of getting past the teams, who are there?
Okay, first of all, if FIFA decides to disqualify DR Congo, it's going to open a vortex. Every team that have played against DR Congo would want to say, no, 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 not Nigeria. We played them before Nigeria, so we have to play against Nigeria to get that spot. So FIFA would, World Cup is coming very soon. FIFA would want to make sure that they don't open that vortex. Because if they open it, the several federations will start filing to say, "Oh, we have to be there. We played against them. They won us. It's not right that Nigeria will be the only team that will be going this." But if by some reason Nigeria gets that note, like for example, they disqualify their Congo and Nigeria get that, obviously this one there they can't. If they do this one, if they come back to Nigeria, they will stone them. If Nigeria get opportunity to play this intercontinental player, they will definitely go to the World Cup.
Now, we know Eric Shell is fighting for certain conditions before he extends his contract. The last time on our podcast, we were discussing it, the conditions that he says would make him stay and work. Sincerely, do you think these are genuine, concerns or genuine demands that he should be granted? Or you think that he's asking for too much, especially on the continent where we all believe that, you cannot have it all rosy? And even the expatriates have to, sacrifice a bit before they take over countries to coach here. Do you think Eric Shell is right with all those demands he's making before he extends his contract?
Yeah, 100%. I have no issue with it. If you look at the entire package, it can be easily provided. It's just that the NFF, those people, they are crooks. So they went to leak the documents to journalists to make the thing in Nigeria will cite them after the documents release. Say, these coaches, we didn't win the AFCON. You're asking for too much and all that. It doesn't make sense. First of all, the things he's requesting for, they are the bare minimum. Official vehicle, 247 electricity. You can get that with solar. You can get him a generator and all that. Then the amount he's requesting for a salary is not for just him. It's for all his staff. He makes sure that once you pay him that money, he pays his staff personally. That's what he said. It's even at Mali, that's what he does. He doesn't like the federation or the association to pay his staffs directly. He wants to be the one so that he knows that once the money is in his hand, he would give them directly so that no one will say, "Oh, they didn't pay me," or "They didn't pay my complete money." That is why he wants everything paid to him for him to settle the staff. So I think it's just the bare minimum, and anyone that thinks otherwise is just being silly.
This is quite interesting. We just hope that this will find some quick resolution. But I have my own thoughts about him. I think Eric Shell is not a manager to be demanding so much. I saw him with Mali's generational talent, and he wasn't able to deliver.
Kelvin,
properly.
say what you want to say. Overheating.
Yeah, I was coming to that. The overheating coach, it's happened a couple of times. But many think that yes, he should be given that chance, that opportunity to handle Nigeria. Hopefully, he does better. But Clinton, quickly.
Kelvin, I have a question. Let me ask Clinton a question. Clinton,
Right.
has any Nigerian journalist asked Eric Shell why they had to pour water on his head at the AFCON?
Oh no, he actually clarified that in the interview he did with the French media house last month. He said he had issues going into the World Cup, and he was so confident they were going to win that game. So in that moment, when he went down, his heart was beating fast. His eyes were blurry. The assistant that poured water on him knew the condition that he had. So that's why he brought water to pour on his head. Normally, that wouldn't have happened. But that particular person that brought the water knew what he was going through. That's why the person brought the water. And he was grateful, and he thanks that guy for bringing that water. If not, he would have actually collapsed. That's what he said.
You see, this one, if I say overheating, you people say I'm being insensitive and things. Now you brought diagnosis, it's okay. I won't say anything again, it's fine.
You are always insensitive.
Look at you.
Thank you so much for your time, and we hope that
Oh,
Nigeria
thanks
will
for
get
having
better
me.
like Ghana does, when we get qualifying for the World Cup and all that. Then maybe
Oh,
we'll do
don't go there to participate. Go there and actually win games, please.
okay, I hear. Just like you also go there and then you also go and feel like the AFCON semi-final, final, and
This one, Kelvin, tell them they should stay home and chant Ghana.
we'll send them some jollof to eat.
Exactly.
Wait for
Instead of saying Super Eagles carry go, you say Ghana Black Stars carry go.
Thank you so much, Clinton. But it's now time to turn our attention to the big events. Yes, football events happening in European club football. A lot has happened throughout this week, and I'm sure all these guys, yes, a lot of them have been happy for quite long. I'm thinking about that guy. Is he ever going to shave that hair?
Which
Really?
United Strand.
Yes.
Oh, he won't shave.
He won't shave hair.
He
He should
won't
be
shave
looking
because
forward to like next season.
anytime they will get close, they will definitely either draw or lose the fifth game, and then you go again. He's not going to shave anytime
Alright.
soon.
Let's welcome Kwajo. Kwajo, everything cool.
Kelvin,
Everything
how do I
cool.
sound? Everything
Hey.
cool.
Oh yeah, they cool.
Nice one. Charlie, the cool day, they down, but you get 3 points.
Telling me my
Yeah.
very happy. But
Hey.
you see, today I came on this pod because some narratives are being pushed on this pod. And
So that you want to clarify, let us know.
I like to talk about Chelsea at some point.
Okay.
However, there's one thing I heard last week that prompted me to come here. And you guys asked a really, really good question. And I think it was a question to kind of to be a good segue to very, very candid conversations about the best passer that you've ever seen. And I
Yeah.
had two names that for the life of me, I cannot understand why some people can be so biased and still mention their footballers and their current team's player. Why would they ask best passer ever and you're mentioning Bruno Fernandes? Why? I cannot understand that for the life of me.
Why not? Why not?
Because you see, there is reality and there is delusion. And in this sense, the delusion itself is actually taking over logic.
Yeah.
We speak about passes, but even you, Kelvin, I've not even got to you because I think your answer was the worst of it all. Guti.
Why Guti?
For the life of me, I don't even know why you mentioned Guti.
There's
It's not like
nostalgia FC.
Exactly. I think that was
No.
based
What
on nostalgia.
is nostalgia? No?
I didn't ask who gave the best pass you've ever seen. The question was very
It's
simple.
not just
Who is
about
the best passer?
about the best pass I've seen. He was one of the best passers.
Not in terms of volume, not in terms of accuracy. In which regard, in Guti's era, would you say he was the best passer than some of the people in his peer? Aside the one pass you mentioned, whereby he gave a bad pass to
some of the
Benzema.
people. Give me one or two of the people during Guti's time. The only player
Riquelme was a better passer than Guti.
One Roman
Who?
Riquelme.
Riquelme was a better
Villarreal.
passer than
I
than
don't
Guti.
think so.
He was.
I don't think so. So
It is not- it is
the
not what you
nostalgia
think.
is what is bringing Riquelme.
No, it
Riquelme
is not what you think.
wasn't
Because
a
before I
great
came
passer
here, I
than
actually looked it up.
Riquelme isn't a great passer than Guti.
Listen, it's not what I think. It is what is there. What is statistically factual. Riquelme, in terms of pass accuracy, exceeds Guti. In terms of record sets in a World Cup, right? He has the metrics to back him up outside of Guti. When I ask you, Guti, what metric would you use to base Guti's pass status off? What would you tell me?
But you're forgetting one thing. The question was what? The best passer the person has seen. So it is not necessarily to do with statistics. It's necessarily due to what he's seen.
No, that's what I'm saying. You see, that's why I said the question can be very, very ambiguous, right? Like,
Exactly. Exactly. So everyone was supposed to prove his or her point why he thinks player A, player B. Because if you tell me we are going to use statistics, I will tell you that Ellen Haaland is a better player than Thierry Henry. And would you admit that Haaland is a better player than Thierry Henry?
What he doesn't
No.
have right now over Henry is longevity. He doesn't have longevity. You see,
He's
you
not
see,
a
you
better
can,
player
you,
than
you,
Who
Henry.
doesn't have,
no,
the
you see,
longevity?
you can
Who doesn't
have,
have the longevity?
The
What
figures,
did,
give
what
us
did
the numbers.
Riquelme do with his passing, with the volume?
you see,
or
you're
the
saying what
weight
is,
of his
but that was
passing?
not the question. The question
I said he's
again
the best
is
passer.
who is
Yes,
the best
passer I
passer
have ever seen. And I think is if you are talking about, there's a difference between a controller for me, a passer for me, a dribbler for me, and then someone who do I say a number 10. You get it? Who gives an end to, for me, the biggest number 10 I have seen, and I would always go for Zinedine Zidane. But if you are talking about a passer of the ball, I have seen, I think it's Guti.
When the question was posed to you guys, I think 3 different people had 3 different interpretations and 3 different outcomes, and it's very integral to the sport.
Yeah.
For Nana Asari, he talked about the weight. He talked about different things, but Kokusafu mentioned one thing. He touched on all categories of a pass. He talked about if it's a short pass, behind the box. He also mentioned, say the aesthetic beauty of the pass, right? Like how beautiful the pass is. I think the more I listen to you, it's becoming more clear that you are talking about that aspect of the pass, how weighted that pass could be, the variation of that pass itself, and how beautiful that pass looked to you. Am I correct in assuming that?
No, Guti goes beyond that. His vision, his creativity, his passing ability, I think he's always overlooked, but his intentionality, I think it settles it.
When was the last time a Chelsea striker scored a hat-trick?
You're asking to
What
me
about
to
that?
score. Hey, wait, didn't the lab score a hat-trick at some point?
The lap, 49 goals in training.
Doesn't it count?
Prof, we are talking about goals in competitive games.
Oh, leave that boy.
No, but Mangana, I've got a question for you, and
What's up?
maybe you can analyze this better for us, right? Tottenham face real threat of being relegated. It's serious now. Today they lost, and everyone looks dejected on the field, right? It was a London derby game. Everyone thought they should have, picked up a win, something, anything at all, but they lost at home, and again a red card.
Yeah, you remember last week when they asked about the Tottenham game, and I told you that Tottenham's ability to stay in the league will be more dependent on West Ham and Nottingham Forest not being able to pick up points than Tottenham actually winning any games. The whole team is broken from the amount of injuries they have, and the rest of the available players don't seem to want to play for the shirt or for the manager or whatever it is that is going on at Tottenham. And you don't see the players who are supposed to be the leaders in the club kind of like galvanizing them. Look at what Romero came out with, kind of like essentially chastising the club for not bringing in players instead of trying to, rally their troops, whichever troops they are left, instead of rallying them around to kind of like, because in as much as they've lost about 13 players to injury, they have a decent enough 11 to at least grind out some draws and pick up a win here and there. But the way they are playing, you don't see how they are going to win any games. You don't see how they are going to pick up any points. And honestly, it feels like the players don't really care that they are going to go into a relegation.
But I'm sorry, that Tottenham must appear to be a serious club for you. If you want someone to salvage your woes from being relegated, you go and bring Igor Tudor. I don't understand.
But everything
I don't understand. It's the same thing Marinakis was doing with Nottingham, and then you realize, come on, he quickly needs to resolve things. It was the same thing Leicester City did, and then they were relegated. I think, after Daniel Levy left the club, everything has been in shambles to the point that they bring players who seem uninterested to even play for the badge and get the right results. Look at how Bissouma goes on and off, comes back, and look at how Igor Tudor is struggling to tell his players to adapt to a system or a style which he likes, for them to push up in unison, the high press.
The owners have resigned to selling the club already. So I don't think they themselves are interested in splurging any money to try and get them out. Because I think if they had brought in any serious manager that actually has a good record of keeping English teams in the title chance, what would come with it in terms of compensation and other stuff, they probably wouldn't be willing to pay. So they brought in someone who they think they wouldn't have to do so much and pay so much. And then when they're able to stay in the league, they can just turn over the club and sell it.
If I can jump in just real quick, I think the Tottenham one, and I totally agree with what you guys are saying. I think in as much as, because prior to all these happenings, right, they have a fully fit sort of 11, right?
Yeah.
And what really transpired over this whole period is after, I think in January, that's when Kudus got injured. And definitely not down to just Kudus, but a good number of players. That's what you mentioned, like 13 players, right?
Yeah,
like
Maddison.
Yeah, Madison. I mean, again, it's no excuse for you to be fighting relegation, but we cannot necessarily decouple that from the actual, because that's what basically started this whole cascading effect, right?
13 players out is a lot of players to have out, especially when they're in your
It is a lot. Exactly, right? So
AFC Bournemouth, you see the reason why I don't buy this. AFC Bournemouth had about 12 first-team players out last season, for most part of last season. They still managed to get the job done, and they stayed in the Premier League top. They were not languishing at the base. And I think if you don't have a very good manager, one mistake I think they did was when Ange Postecoglou was able to bring that trophy to them, they should have given him at least the first 2 months of the new season to right his wrongs.
It would have been easier to give him that time if they won the trophy in the fashion that would justify giving him the time. So look at the situation with Manchester United when they gave what was his name, Eric Ten Hag, a second chance. That final between Man United and Manchester City, the FA Cup final, you saw them play. Like you felt like, yes, they were playing for the manager, they were playing for the trophy, they were playing for the badge. So it felt like it was justified to kind of give him a second try to see if he can kick on. But when you watch the final between Manchester United and Spurs, you could tell that it was who was the least terrible team that finally found a way to score. So there was nothing to hang their hat on to say, if we give him a second try and back him, it's going to change. And that is why they still sacked him, because the way even though Spurs won the trophy, you watch them and you're like, yeah, this is more like both teams are trying to throw it away, and we see who wants to throw it away less.
Actually, oh, sorry, what was I doing this whole time? My bad. I actually agree with Asari here. It's the same way I think this guy should have been fired. What's his name? Right? Was it? Because he came into this season, if I recall correctly. You guys met him, and he still had his job. Once Ange was fired, he should have also gone. Yeah. I don't disagree with them firing Ange. For me, I think the injuries played a really, really big role, and it would be hard for us not to count that in.
But they still do have enough. Like, it's just how they lose games. That is the thing. You can see that there's no fight.
Me, I don't care if they are relegated.
You'll be happy. I mean, you're not my rival.
Yes. They can concentrate on their stuff, but I think that yes, if Oliver Glasner with all his troubles is still getting results and getting the team afloat, Tottenham Hotspur have no excuse. They're just terrible with the decisions they are making, and then.
But that's the thing about football as well. In as much as you might think it's just one thing, all these factors have to come into play. Like, the players have to be willing to want to play for the manager. The tactics have to be right. The owners have to be on. But there are so many little things that have to be on, that have to come together for a team that is bereft of a lot of its quality to still maintain some level of performance to win games. Because we've seen teams where they have bought as many of the most talented players and have all of them there, but you can still see there's no cohesion. They're not able to win the games. That is kind of commiserate with the kind of squad that they have. So Spurs are a team that are out of sync in so many areas, and hence it translates to the team as well. And I know most of those players probably feel like, yeah, I'm heading out at the end of the season, especially if they go down. Most of the players will just jump ship and then find a new place to call home.
Well, they are going to find a new place too. But you people are not. I'll come back to us now. But Manchester United fans, why are you not talking about your club today? Man U fans, why are you not talking about your club today?
Oh, is there anything to talk about? We lost a game.
There's nothing to talk about today. Hey,
what? There's nothing to talk about.
Hey, nothing to talk, saying.
Since we last recorded, there's been 2 games. We won one, we lost one.
And you lost.
And we are talking about the recent one.
Yeah, the recent one we lost. Hey, it was hard luck. There was a game we should have put away.
You people know hard luck.
I've never seen such luck.
We should have put away so many chances that we didn't. And then we allowed them to. to score in
Kelvin,
the
have
dying
you seen
moment.
hard luck like this against 10 men?
Don't worry if you don't sweat enough. And I'm quite surprised. 10 men. 10 men. 10
Oh, the
against
goal
11.
was very nice.
10 against 11, and you people lose the game.
The goal was beautiful.
It was
wouldn't be the
Osla,
goal.
I
We
think.
lost
Was
against 10
Osla
men
did so well.
against Everton, same season.
Did you see the way he just displays this guy Malacia?
And
Did
he
you
used
see-
Maguire to
Malacia
size the
hasn't
goalkeeper.
played in forever, and they were
Oh,
off the back of
that-
knee
that-
injuries.
I don't understand what Anana is trying to do. It's like you're trying to tell us what Malacia hasn't done, and I don't know if the expectation here is to empathize with that or like I don't care about if he hasn't.
You need to
played for 10 years.
empathize. There's no need to empathize. We are in a good position. We are not bothered.
Yeah, like Malacia, the guy was praying to God, slided.
We are not bothered at
But,
all.
you
This
know,
is just bad and
Man U
blip.
fans, are you
Bad and
scared?
blip.
Man U fans, are you scared? Nana, are you scared this is going to open the doors for more slips?
There is no door open for more slips.
Hey, Calvin, please, we'll be here.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
we
to
all
be
be
scared
here.
of.
You know the reason why I'm asking this? The last game
Mhm.
that was over the weekend, which you won,
Mhm.
United were terrible compared to the games
won?
under Carrick. And yesterday was another typical example with a man advantage. It was like you did not know what you were doing.
The new manager bounce is going off.
Could that be the case? Sorry,
I
do you
wonder.
sense that?
I wonder.
At the end of the season,
Now it's at the end of the season.
Now you're talking at the end of the season.
I'm making the point. Relax.
Okay.
At the end of the season,
Mhm.
we will win more games than we will lose from this period going, and
Nice.
we'll still make it into the top 4. And that is what
All right.
matters.
Okay. We wait to see. We wait to see.
This level of confidence, I've loved it for a long time. Kelvin.
You people
never
don't
wins.
play any. You don't play any competition.
Kelvin.
Someone plays. Yeah.
I've loved this level of confidence for a long time. Trust me, there's a whole track record here. So don't worry. We'll be here
We
again.
did. We'll be here. But
We'll
gentlemen,
definitely be
finally,
here.
let's talk about this. Starting with you, Kojo. Manchester City drop points. Arsenal have extended. City have, one game in hand, but 7 points adrift. Is this the final moment you think Mikel Arteta and Arsenal can do this? 8 more matches to go. If anything is to go by, they need 5 victories and a draw to lift the trophy.
I think Arsenal is going to win this one. Arsenal smells blood, as much as it hurts me to find out Arsenal is going to win. But honestly, the Arsenal fans I know are not too annoying, so I don't mind. I just didn't want them to win, but they smell blood. And Arsenal just finds a way to win. I know you guys have talked about it, talking about, they need different things, but the game against Chelsea just showed me how they are just so dominant. Like, when we play against Arsenal, our players feel it, right? And they find a way to put the ball in the net. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to, make you excited, but they just get the job done. And with, as well, you guys have 8 more games to go. Yeah. Man City has a game in hand. If they win that, it's 4 points. And that's not even guaranteed that they are going to win that.
Yeah.
Now, to me, it will probability. Arsenal play like a 90% chance they are winning at this part. And if they truly don't win, I don't see them winning the next 3-4 years.
If they don't win this trophy, they won't win any trophy again for about 10 years because it's insane to have this level of performance consistently, season after season after season, and always fall at the last hurdle. This is one of their best chances, barring a few that has gone by. This is their best chance to lift the Premier League trophy. And like I've said in previous episodes, they need to enter into every game like it's a cup final. Try and kill the game as early as possible because at this point, it is not about how you won the trophy. No one is going to remember how pretty the games were when you won the trophy. But when you win that trophy, everyone will remember how you've lifted the trophy, and that is what's important. So they need to just stamp the authority in games, win, and then they can kick on. The only hurdle that I see is that game between you and Arsenal in the Carabao Cup final. If City are able, City and Arsenal. If City do not drop any points, get into the final, and you guys play the final, I believe that it will go a long way for Arsenal if you're able to beat City in the final. That would kind of like give the players that kind of impetus that they'll feel like, yeah, at this point, we are not losing any trophy anymore. But if they lose to City, I think that would do a great deal of damage to their confidence.
I disagree. I truly believe City will win that cup. Carabao is City's bread and butter. Guardiola is going to score you, Kelvin. I want you to brace yourself.
I think Kelvin
that
has
is
a
not
lot of
going to
work to do
happen.
to lift
I
the
don't
trophy if
think
you
it's
lose that
gonna
game.
happen.
I think they'll score you. but I think you guys are still going to win the league regardless. Like, City still, so the thing, once you guys went through the Tottenham-Chelsea phase and you did not drop points there, it's incredibly hard for me to see you guys dropping points anywhere. And you might.
It's been a wonderful episode here today. Yes, we want to hear from you too. What do you think about Ghana's woes? What do you think about Ghana's difficulties in getting back to the very top? After 69 years of independence, football was once a glorious, item that every single Ghanaian looked forward to for major tournaments. But now we've been shocked by the countries you wouldn't even expect to see a tournament, including Comoros, Madagascar, even recently Sudan, because you're with the Sudan. But don't, worry. I'm sure Otoado and his men will get us back to the glory days. All you need to do is to just drop your comments below, engage with us, and let's have, these conversations, because that's how change happens. For the Nigerians, yes, we know that, yes, Clinton has said a lot. What do you also think can make your football and other things better? We'll be lovely to hear your voice. Yes, we would love it to hear from you. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and share this with your football loving friends. You can find us on all major podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and follow us on social media at 5050 Football Pod for exclusive content and updates. My name is Kelvin Owusu, I did this with Kweku Safomenta and Nana Sari. But before we go, quick shout outs to, our friends across the globe, each and everyone who's been listening to us in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, the UK, the US, Canada, and across the world. Thank you so much, and thank you for supporting us. But on the next episode, we are going to break down a lot more of the football drama. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Let's have a very good time until the next episode. Make sure you keep it 50-50, keep it balanced, and keep loving the beautiful game. Peace.